p.m. in London and 4 p.m. in Beijing as markets around the world react to the latest Trump tariffs. We're now hours into President Trump waging the next phase of his global trade war, levying new double-digit tariffs on dozens of countries and a whopping 104% tariff on China. All of this throwing the global markets into further turmoil. Let's take a look. Asian markets closed mixed, actually. The Nikkei closed off about 4%. The Hang Seng, interestingly, up about 1%. Shanghai Composite up about 1.3%. Taking a look at European markets, which opened last hour and are solidly lower across the board here from the DAX, which is off about 1.9%. FTSE off about 1.9% as well. Similar picture in France. Taking a look at U.S. markets now, which experienced a wild day of trading on Tuesday, all closing sharply lower after briefly being higher the day, actually. Now, futures this morning, well, they've been all over the place. At one point, they were flat. Right now, they are currently higher across the board as well. Now, the tariffs went into effect at midnight Eastern time, and they range from 11 to 50%. That is on top of the sweeping 10% tariffs implemented Saturday. New tariffs hit some of America's closest trading partners, which the White House has called the, quote, worst offenders, and that's not to mention the massive tariffs on China. This is what Trump said at a different event on Tuesday. Take a listen.
We're making deals, and people are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is, can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to because, as you know, the tariffs are on and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before.
But economists, market analysts, and banks dispute Trump's logic there, saying that these tariffs are likely to cause a massive global recession. Lawmakers, including Republicans, are also criticizing the policies.
I'm assuming this all got gamed out because it's a novel approach. It needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
U.S. business owners say that they are collateral damage in a war of attrition, including this longtime business owner who imports small appliances from China.
We are the ones, the importers are the ones that get the invoices from the customs department. We are the ones that have to pay the government all the tariffs, taxes, whatever you want to call them. A tariff, a tax, it's a synonym to me. And that all gets billed to us, which we have to bill the consumer at the end.
Okay, we are watching the response all over the world this morning. CNN's Melissa Bell joining us live from Paris. Let's actually begin with our Christy Lou Stout in Hong Kong for us. Christy, Trump has forged ahead with this massive levy on China. How's the country reacting this morning?
Yeah, well, Rahel, in China, but also all across the region, many people, whether they're economists, investors, small business owners, are reacting with a sense of dismay and deep concern. Within the last hour, we spoke to a small business owner, an Amazon merchant who's based in Shantou, China. She sells toys to the U.S. market. She usually ships about 10,000 units a month. She is currently suspending her shipments and is considering exiting the U.S. market entirely. This as the U.S. President Donald Trump forges ahead with his reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries around the world and that punishing, eye-watering total tariff rate of at least 104% on China on the back of China not respecting Trump's deadline, not respecting his deadline or his request to remove its own retaliatory tariffs. We've been watching the markets this day, down arrows across the board in major markets like South Korea, Japan, in Hong Kong as well. Investors here in the region rejecting Trump as he unleashes this new wave of tariffs. Now, we heard from U.S. officials, they say they're ready to talk and that they have been approached by at least 70 governments and that they're prepared to talk, and talks will soon begin with Japan and South Korea, among other countries. In fact, Donald Trump said that he had, quote, a good call with the acting South Korean president on Tuesday, but he had a different set of words to describe China. I want to bring up a Truth Social post by the U.S. president. He says this, let's bring it up for you, quote, China also wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. It will happen. Chinese officials, they're not taking it. In fact, they are reiterating their line that they will fight this trade war until the end. Listen to this.
I believe the actions of the U.S. do not reflect a genuine willingness for serious dialogue. If the U.S. disregards the interest of both countries and the international community and insists on waging a tariff war or trade war, China will fight to the end.
China is rejecting Trump's tariffs. Investors in the region and elsewhere as well, and small business owners across China and the region being forced to stop and figure out what's next. Rahel, back to you.
Yeah, that certainly is the question, both in that part of the world and around the world in general. Christy Lou Stout, thank you. Melissa, let me now go to you in Paris. What are you hearing? What are you learning about how the EU plans to respond to these new tariffs?
Well, they're meeting this afternoon to figure out just that, Rahel, whether they're going to impose in their turn now a 25% tariff, for instance, on all American imports to the European Union. In fact, just now, Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, has been meeting with pharmaceutical leaders who are warning that there may be shortages, difficulties in sourcing and getting medicines in the United States as a result of the shocks to the supply lines that this is causing. Then, of course, we've been talking a great deal about what this means for business leaders, small and larger. But there is the question of how this overnight tariff will impact American consumers. Rahel, we're talking about things like Camembert cheese, which suddenly now is subject to a 20% import tax. Heineken beer, already impacted by aluminum tariffs, which is going to be that bit more expensive to American consumers. And then there's the wine industry. $2.5 billion worth of European wine was imported to the United States last year. That now the subject of this 20% tariff. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty about who's going to take the hit. On the whole, it is expected that it will be importers who will pass it on to suppliers, who will pass it on to consumers. Now, if you take the case of wine, for instance, the logic behind Donald Trump's tariffs is that, well, okay, American consumers will turn to, say, Californian Chardonnay rather than this Burgundy white. The point is, though, that even Californian Chardonnay is dependent on international supply lines. French oak barrels that are imported to the United States, now themselves the subject of a 20% tariff. There is no scenario in which prices for ordinary Americans of all of the goods that they're used to buying, whether they are European or American, do not rise. And that, I think, is going to be a source of great interest over the course of the coming weeks, how quickly that impacts Americans and how definitively, even before countries like China or trading blocs like the European Union work out their responses and retaliatory measures for help.
Yeah, it's such an interesting point, Melissa. I mean, it's hard to imagine how any American in any part of the country doesn't feel this in one way or the other, depending on the products that they're exposed to every day. Melissa Bell and Paris for us. Melissa, thank you. South Korea has announced more than